my privilege to be here this morning in front of such a distinguished gathering. I think in this world of digital, I would like to say that digital is pervasive. All businesses are digital businesses. So I think for us, it has become extremely important to understand the power of digital. I think when we look at not just the governance but also sustainability, we need to kind of incorporate and understand that digital can be a very, very significant and very effective tool in our endeavor to be good directors and provide good governance and sustainability. Thank you so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The IOD, in the last 25 years, whichever seminar they have had, they have always emphasized the importance of the role of independent directors. And to that extent, I think IOD has contributed significantly. And in the new clauses which have come up in the Companies Act as well as in the SEBI's Clause 49. And incidentally, today, IOD is celebrating their Silver Jubilee year, 25 years completed. So let's all felicitate them and compliment them and congratulate them for their contribution. Thank you very much indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, IOD has spent a quarter of a century being called Institute of Directors. I think to give it a color of gold for the Golden Jubilee, we can call it Institute of Corporate Visionaries. Now the topic today I find is corporate governance and sustainability. I think it is linked with good governance for any country to maintain its sustainability. The shift is to the boardroom being manned by professionals who have knowledge about what they are going to do. But law is a ever-changing exercise. Now, one of the provisions in the 2013 Companies Act, which I found little within a gray area, was the director's responsibility statement and things required to be indicated in the auditor's report in section 134. That is about a fraud by any employee which is to be reported, but interestingly, fraud is not defined in the Act except in section 447, which interestingly said whether there was a wrongful gain or loss, wrongful loss, you have to report it. Now, I think the new amendment in the Companies Act takes care of that. Now, the shift now is that make the Companies Act more effective. It's more investment friendly, because once you feel that there are so many stipulations which throttle competition, which throttle growth, then probably there will be instability in the corporate world. Now the corporate foundation is linked with the financial stability of the country. In that sense, the directors play a very vital role. The independent directors are not supposed to be watchdogs, but at the same time, they are not supposed to be Draculas. I hope you will have a very interesting session throughout the day. Thank you.
Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. While the government on its part is working towards good governance, I'm very delighted that this is a subject which has caught the corporate world's attention. I would say more particularly in the last about 2 decades. We have seen this gain more traction in the last 2 decades. Today, a company is known by its corporate governance standards. I think investors all over the world, stakeholders, bankers, tax authorities, governments, all of us recognize good companies which are run with good governance practices, companies which take this issue seriously, companies which are focused on good governance. I think it's extremely appropriate that Institute of Directors has kept this workshop or seminar on effective corporate governance for growth and sustainability. Why I say it's very appropriate is because whether it is government, whether it is corporate entities, or whether it is people at large, good governance cuts across all sections of society. Being a chartered accountant, also an investment banker until a few months ago, I found that if we were to use some innovative financing models in government and government programs, we can actually achieve far better results, far greater returns to the system. If we keep our vision high, if we keep our goal high, if we are all willing to sacrifice a little bit, if we are all willing to work with mutual respect and trust, failure is not due to ownership or ownership style. I think the reason and the need of the hour is to have vision, to have honest leadership, to have sincerity of purpose, and to have a commitment that there is a world beyond where each one of us lives. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello and welcome to this special plenary session on effective corporate governance for growth and sustainability. I'd like to really begin by asking each one of you, what is the extent of commitment to sustainability from each of your organizations? If we could start with you, Mr. Bakshi.
For sustainability, first of all, there are two things. One should look into the future. Every day, technology is changing, and one has to move along with the change in the technology. If you look into the past, how bridges was constructed and now technology has upgraded, even the road sector also, how new innovation has come. And now, even yesterday we were discussing with the Ministry of Defense that how olden way, how the roads were being constructed, and now they wanted that straight roads in the hills also. Now we should go instead of zigzag roads, we should go use with the more tunnels, bridges, so that you should have straight roads that drive on the 100 kilometer speeds and all that. Every day technology is changing, and one has to adopt the change. Then only I feel that you can sustain in the market.
So, Mr. Dubey, you've worked with some of the most reputed nationalized banks. What has been your experience with respect to sustainability goals, especially, the expectation from government enterprises is much more when it comes to sustainability?
Yes, ma'am. Expectation level is very, very high by all the stakeholders, including government. But the level playing field is very, very different. There are issues, there are challenges. We had been taking care of them. One is organization culture, how it evolved. I was in Punjab National Bank for 32 years. It is a different bank, basically North Indian Bank, but they now spread all over the country, all over the world. It has its own culture from North. When I moved to Mumbai, Central Bank of India, that has its own culture, where unions had a very dominant say for a long time, although it is not there in Mumbai-based bank. So it once depends on the founder's principle, how it evolved. All three banks are more than 100 years old. So how the culture developed and organization had a very deep impact on those employees. And the recent report of the Naidu committee is really relevant, which needs to be examined by the government and maybe put into place, because that is also a model, at least, which is in between public sector and the private.
Right.
So I think high growth and sustainability, both are important, both are possible in the public sector bank. I tried to demonstrate it in the last 2 years in Federal Bank. It was possible. The organization had inbuilt culture. We pursued that. We gave protection to the people. We gave very clear, unambiguous direction. And we deliberated on the board every damn thing. If you are transparent, if you are ethical, if you are serious, and if you are fair, it is possible to have sustainable growth, even in the public sector, with a lot of challenges.
Preeti, you've come back to India after a long time. Perhaps you can give us a sort of, ground view. What have been your experiences abroad? And in India, do you see the concept of sustainability and sustainable goals catching on, especially in the financial sector?
Right. One of the reasons I have come back is I think we have a very effective dynamic government in place. We have this great sustainability report, and we've created now the YES Institute, for which come back, and we're going to collect and synergize all our knowledge work in that. That will cover economic, social and environment, and policy issues. So just on environment and sustainability, we have many social examples, but I wanted to say on environment, with our partner NewGen, I believe we've reduced paper consumption in a bank by 995 sheets. So that for us is a saving. In addition to that, things like the Carbon Disclosure Leadership Index, we are on that, and we encourage other financial institutions to be there.
Dr. Ram, what has been your experience with respect to Punjab National Bank? Today, what are the sustainability goals of the organization? What's the road forward?
Yeah, any banking institution, I think the sustainability depends upon the trust of the public. For public sector banks, particularly Punjab National Bank, I think we have very larger and greater social goals. If you have heard about Jan Dhan Yojana, I think Punjab National Bank, being the second largest bank in India, has played a pivotal role. I think this is unprecedented achievement in banking sector. I think after government came in power, new government, this is the first program which is successful. And the Punjab National Bank, having its branches across India, has played very, very important role. We have opened almost about 75 lakhs of accounts within a month's time. I think this is the greatest achievement. After State Bank of India, of course, State Bank of India is a much larger organization. Its branches are much large in number, so their achievement could be greater than Punjab National Bank. But I think we have been very conscious about our social responsibility. We have been conscious about our environmental responsibility, and Punjab National Bank has been doing its bit in promoting both the sectors, social as well as environment.
Okay. So Soumitra, I'm going to look at you to sort of give us a more macro perspective. Ever since the mandatory 2% spend on CSR activities kicked in from April this year, what has been your experience with companies, both public and private? Do you find sustainable goals coming higher up in their priority list, in their agendas?
To be very frank, sustainability is not one of the core issues that companies today are addressing adequately. When you talk of economy, sustainability actually takes a backseat. Because then you're talking of primary profits. Then you're talking about primary inferences. How much does your penny get into and get out with? The problem comes when you don't align your economy with growth. This economy delusion factor exists in the whole industry as such, where we tend to believe that economy is a sort of a monster which we need to keep feeding into. But we forget the growth part of it. Because growth is more human inclusive. And when we talk of corporate governance and sustainability, which is the agenda of the day, without suitable corporate governance structure and adequately addressing sustainability as a core issue in the board, you cannot expect sustainability to be addressed down under. One thing very clear. So if the top management is really serious about the issue of sustainability, then they have to start from the policy level, not due implementation.
I'd just like to quickly wrap this up by asking each one of you, what is that one low-hanging fruit that Indian organizations can easily attain, that one little step that they can take towards sustainable goals? Maybe we can start with Soumitra.
Intent, clear. If your intent is in place, if your policy is in place, you will do the rest. People now are aware in this socially and digital friendly environment. People are aware if you can communicate to them the right perspective with the right intent, you're going to go places as far as sustainability is concerned.
Yeah, involvement of the top management and mindset change of the employees. That's what is crucial for achieving the sustainable goal.
We take a slightly different view. I would say renewable energy. I said green buildings. If we can make our organizations green, this air quality, the pollution, why should we have bad public goods? So I think renewable energy is where I would focus on.
Right.
I would add intent, involvement of all people to passion. If the leader has a passion, if he creates passion in the whole team with involvement, anything is possible. What you talk about CSR, social banking, sustainability. So that passion you create to achieve something, to deliver something.
Okay.
For sustainability, the most important thing which I feel is to adopt the new technologies, new changes, and new innovation and move forward. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure. I'm particularly delighted that the Institute of Directors has focused on corporate governance and sustainability. The key challenge for India is really to grow at high rates of 9 to 10% per annum year after year for the next 3 decades or more, to be able to lift a very vast segment of our population above the poverty line. As India grows and advances, one of the key challenges will be how do we do it in a very sustainable manner. And it's very important that as India urbanizes, and the latest McKinsey study shows that by 2030 we'll have 350 million Indians getting into the process of urbanization, and by 2050 700 additional Indians will get into the process of urbanization. 700 million Indians means that India will in the next 4 decades will have to create 2.5 Americas. That's the challenge. And the challenge is that how do we do it in an innovative and sustainable manner? And I think the key challenge is that we are talking about smart cities. How do we use technologies to leapfrog? And one of the key principles of this new government is really about focusing on manufacturing through Make in India, using technology to leapfrog through Digital India, skilling India through Skill Indias, and many of these programs converge and integrate at several places. And they all in many ways focus on an innovative and a sustainable India. And the challenge really is that as we move forward, how do we embed in our planning process sustainability? How do we embed in our process the process of public transportation? How do we recycle and reuse water and waste in many ways? These are some things which over the years we've neglected, because while we have in recent years, while people have moved to urban areas, much of our planning has been totally in an unplanned and unscientific manner. And it's very important that we plan properly, we use new technologies, because India has historically been a very, very reluctant urbanizer. It's been a very reluctant urbanizer, but there is no alternative. People are going to move into urban areas, and it's very important that we use good planning and drive sustainability. And I think corporates have to play a very critical, very significant, and a very major role in this. And unless and until increasingly corporates focus on recycling of water, recycling of waste, and putting responsibility in driving a totally new, creative India in terms of sustainability, it will be very difficult. I think this country is laying a huge emphasis on solar energy. It will be impossible to meet our targets of energy without solar energy. This country is laying a huge emphasis on water, better management of water, better recycling of water. This country is laying a huge emphasis on better management of waste and how to convert waste into energy. And I think this country is laying a huge emphasis on public transportation. If we are focusing on 50 new metros, 100 smart cities, we are talking about a huge radical shift in India. We are talking about a paradigm shift. And I think sustainability and innovativeness will be the key to all this. So with these few words, ladies and gentlemen, I'll conclude. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, sustainability is today, I think we are all focusing on something which we've carried as part of our civilization, and we unfortunately forgot it on the way. And we got trapped in the different civilizational ways which are not ours, because if I can go back to the years when I was growing up, the grandmothers in the house would use every bit of cloth till it became really a tata. And it will be cut, it will be used for smaller kids, it will be recycled into kitchen cleaner, then a duster or whatever else. And then it will be thrown finally. Unlike today where we waste not just the money but resources on kerchiefs to tissues to keep adding waste. And in that addition of waste, then we keep spending money in recycling that waste. And then we keep talking about how dirty our cities are. Our cities are dirty because we have really not done much work on waste management. And when we talk about cleanup, there are a whole lot of systems which need to be cleaned up, including governance style. I'm glad I'm standing amongst people who represent corporate governance, where efficiency must speak for itself. And when efficiency needs to speak for itself, that applies equally to the government structures. And that efficiency is, I think, the need of the hour, both at government level and at the public policy level, and also at the level of directors. And I must pay my regards to Institute of Directors who have been constantly working towards improvising the mechanism of corporate governance. So efficiency definitely is one aspect of governance mechanism, whether government itself or it's the corporates, because the principles of governance remain the same and efficiency being one. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My big salute goes to all the visionaries, the leaders sitting over here, and with mind-boggling sessions of discussion on this issue. I understand this is the time not to discuss about the governance, but the leisurely time to celebrate it. The outcome of what has been of this day's convention, and I think I must compliment the IODs and General Aluwalias and the team of leaders associated with IOD. My compliments to them for bringing all these forums on a platform where the outcome of such deliberations would be utilized for this great nation, for the humanity at large. My again compliments to them. What Asim talked about this, that we follow the leaders. And the great saying that Prerak Charitra hi Prerna ka Shrot ho sakta hai. We the leaders sitting over here, the masters in their field of whether bureaucracy, whether enterprising or otherwise, the world is looking toward us. That what is the outcome of such deliberations, which could be useful to the society, which could be useful to the humanity. I seek your good wishes, I seek your blessings, I seek your suggestions in what best manner the responsibilities entrusted on me, I can deliver it back to you, to the society, and to this great nation, and to the humanity. Thank you very much.